Okay, I wanted to talk about maps and mapping in particular. A couple of things I want to cover off just as an introduction to mapping to make sure we're all on the same page, we understand the same things. In mapping, there's a couple of concepts I want to introduce. The first one is latitude and longitude. On the screen here, we have a postcode, which happens to be G24RL, which is near where I used to work in Kepi Design, and that has a longitude and latitude. You can see the details on the screen. 55 degrees, dot 863960, and then a latitude showing this longitude and latitude, so that's for the postcode. That is a single point on the Earth, okay? That's one of the things that use single points. That maybe, for example, maybe the center of this particular postcode. Now, if we move on, if I may. Next slide. This happens to show the postcode for where I happen to live. This is my house, which, as you can see, has a longitude and latitude as well, and it's a single point. Okay, so that's where I happen to live. The next bit I want to talk about, I say, is a single point, just a single dot. We can expand that though in mapping, and one of the things that you'll often do in mapping is they will take several points or longitude and latitude points and join them together with lines. For example, here I have a line from the path that happens to be beside our house. So there's a point, there's a point, there's a single point, single point, single point, and you'll notice they're all joined by a line. That means we now have, if you like, a route or a line there, okay, joined. So several dots joined together to form a line. That may be a route. So, for example, this is a route, or the part of the route along Hill Park Drive where I happen to live. Okay, going from one path to another path. There's actually a path behind our house here. If we move on, what I've done here is I've taken several points together. I've put a point here, a point there, a point there, a point there, a point there, and a point there, and then back to where I started. What I have here is sometimes what was referred to as a polygon. Okay, so I've taken several points, I've joined them together to form a shape. In this particular case, is a rectangle. This is a polygon. This is one of the things we're working with, particularly in shape maps or shape files. They consist of polygons, and those polygons or complex shapes are essentially made up of dots joined together by a single line. Now, that might be, for example, in the case of just my house. That might be a particular, say, a region for the European constituency, or it might be a Westminster constituency, but they're just essentially just all dots joined together. Okay, that's all the shapefile is. So just be aware of that. That's one of the things we'll be working with. We're working with shapefiles, essentially a polygon, a very complex polygon consisting of lots of shapes, points, but just a polygon, a series of points joined together by a line nonetheless. The next thing that's slightly confusing within mapping is projections. Unfortunately, the Earth is not flat. I'm afraid to disappoint any flat earthers out there. It's not flat. But when we're looking at maps, one of the things about a map, it has to essentially project the roundness, a round shape, onto a flat surface, and that's where projection comes in. And I'm not going to try and go into projections. I'm sure there's all sorts of, anyone listening to this who happens to do GIS knows all about projections. I don't. So what we have here, where this cross is, corresponds to the same cross on the flat bit here. So this round or spherical object, that representation, this is it projected flat onto a reporting surface. And there are several different types of projection. The one we're going to work with today is WGS84. That's Whiskey Golf Sierra 84. Okay, that's quite important. We're going to look at that later on. And all it is essentially just taking the round surface, or the sphere of the Earth, and projecting onto a flat surface. It does mean, unfortunately, that certain shapes are distorted because of that projection. And that's what I wanted to say there. So. Right, some more introductions are required. One of the things I'm going to work with as well is a program called QGIS, which, as the title says here, and I'm going to read it, is a free and open source geographical information system. That might not sound particularly exciting. What it will allow us to do is work with shapefiles and other types of map data. So I'm just going to quickly open this up. So I've installed on my machine, I've got 3.1.4. Okay, and I think I was going to start it GIS desktop with something called GRASS, but that's going to come more important later on when we talk about what that does. So I'm going to open up the program, and while that's opening up, I'm going to make some other introductions in a second. Okay, so this is QGIS opened. Now, it doesn't look at anything particularly exciting, I do agree. Let me just pop in something. Yeah, we will cover all this later on, so don't try and think you need to remember any of this. I'm just going to pull in a shapefile I've already got available. So let me just pop in here. I say we'll cover this. This is just to show you what we're going to look at later on. So click OK and click on Add. And remember, I was talking about projections earlier. This is where it starts to become important. So the one I'm going to use just happens to be GIS 84. Click OK, I'm going to accept that and close. Now, you possibly are still quite underimpressed. What we have here is something, this is a shapefile, okay? And it happens to contain some polygons for the UK. Now we are going to cover exactly what these are in a minute. I just want to zoom in and show you. And this is what we have. This is what I'll be working with later on. Now, let's make some other introductions. While I was looking at this data, the thing that actually prompted me was this URL here, okay, from the fire service. And they have some interesting statistics, a whole pile of statistics there. The one that caught my eye was this one here, which is the incident level statistics. And they have something, I'll show you in the spreadsheet, it's referred to as low-level geographical data set. I know, it's so exciting, these titles, I have to say. So what we have here is some data, and I just want to pull across the explanatory or the data dictionary for this particular data set. I know, it's just so exciting, isn't it? Right, so blah, blah, blah. You can read this, I'll give you the URL later on. So this is the territory. That's essentially this. We're actually looking at Tynemere in this particular case. And the thing that I'm interested in is this value here called the LSOA code, which stands for, yep, a lower layer super output area. Yeah. So that's where the incident took place. That's where the fire, or wherever the fire brigade was attended, that's where it took place. And here's a description. And also tells you the financial year happened to take place. We'll look at it in a moment. Just pop that to one side. So that's what we have here. So this is the fire brigade that attended. This is a territory for that particular fire brigade. This is the name of the one that's responded, their code, and this is the location of the LSOA code where it happened, okay? And this just happens to be a description. This is the financial where it took place and the incident type. I think there's 66 different types of incident, and I understand according to the dictionary, which is down here. Yeah, it's just rock and roll, this stuff, rock and roll. Right, now this didn't seem terribly exciting. So the first thing that I was going to think, well, could I match the LSOA code to a shapefile? So I popped in and I happened to have a quick Google around, and I came across this URL here, which I'll give you later on. So this is from the Office of National Statistics. We've got this separate website just for geographical areas, and it just happens to have lower level super output areas and data zones. Now, one of the things you'll find with maps is you get all sorts of different formats, okay? The one that I'm interested in, the one I've had most experience of working with, just happens to be a shapefile format. So all I've done is I've downloaded that particular file, popped it onto this machine here, so I'll just pop it open. There we go. Oops, daisy. So if I go to my PC and I go to the C drive, I go into demo, and that's what I downloaded, all 302 megabytes of, or 303. Thing that I did is I unzipped it into this folder, and you'll find you have several files in there. Okay, you need all of those files when you're working with shapefiles. There are different types of geographical formats. Okay, this one does with Shapefile. We need all four. These are just terms and conditions that come with it. Blah, 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 don't use it, whatever. I can't remember what it said, I really don't care. And this is all imported into QGIS, and this is what we're going to work with in a minute. Okay, so I just want to introduce you to the tools we're going to use before we start using them. Right, so if I look at QGIS, now we're going to look at the data in particular. I will introduce you to the data, which is taken from this website here. As you see, there's quite a few data sets, and we've had a look at the spreadsheet with the data in it. Now, one thing I was able to find, as I said earlier, was the data for the geographical boundaries. So what we've done is we've downloaded the shapefile, and it comes in a zip file. So when we download it, I'm not going to do that just now, we just get a simple zip. So first thing to do is to extract it to a folder, which is this folder here. Okay, so I've done that already. And then what we're going to go back to, we've opened up QGIS, and what we're going to do is open up that shapefile. To do that, you open up QGIS, you go to Layer, Add Vector Layer. Now in the source type, it's not file, it's directory. Okay, and we leave that as UK NTFS2, and we click on three dots here to go to the folder. Okay, so in the C drive under demo, I have this particular folder. So I'm just going to open and select that folder. And then notice that the add button is now no longer grayed out. Just click on add. And that will import the shapefile. It requires 4 files to do that. So I just added it to QGIS and we have the map here. Now a couple of things, just going to quick look in here. So I'm going to go to the layer. Okay, and I'm just going to right hand mouse click and I'm going to click on Open Attribute Table. Just going to have a quick look at that just quickly because we're going to look at this later on. So every single polygon on the map has 3 values associated with this particular shapefile. You can have more than just these 3 attributes. This just happens to be the ones for this particular shapefile. And as you can see, these files, every single one has a geo_code, and that's a unique value for each polygon within the map. Okay, now what we're going to do first of all is we're going to remove all the polygons except those in England. Now to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to do a right hand mouse click and click on here to toggle editing, to allow editing. Okay, the files must be extracted as a zip file in order to do this, just so you know. I made that mistake originally previously. So toggle editing, and again I'm just going to right hand mouse click and I'm going to open attribute table. Okay, and it's going to open up, and I'm going to go here where it says select features using an expression. Now in here, in this folder, I just happen to have the codes we used before. So I'm just going to quickly open it up. It's actually more than I wanted. I'm just going to select this line here and I'm going to copy that and close that. I'm going to pop back here and I'm going to pop into this expression I just copied. Okay, the expression reads geocode in double quotes, not like E wildcard. Okay. Now that means it's going to look at the geocode in the attribute table and it's going to select every single geocode where the geocode does not start with E. Okay, so I'll just pop back and get that up again. I'm going to select features. Okay, and you'll notice what's happened to the map. I'm just going to close this quickly. Is that some of the polygons on the map are now outlined in red. There's quite a few of them, unfortunately. Quite a few selected there. All the ones that are outlined in red are the ones in Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. The geo_code does not start with E. Okay, now I'll pop back to the attribute table. I should have popped back to that, I do apologise. Open up. And what I'm going to do here, you'll notice that there's one of the icons has now suddenly appeared, which is delete selected features. Okay. Now when I click on that, what's going to happen is it's going to remove the polygons that have been selected. So that's every single polygon in the layer where the geo_code does not start with E. Okay. Now I know that every single one in England, the geocode starts with E. So I'm just going to remove them all. Okay, get them to do it. Voila. And now we have only the polygons for England. Now, if I pop back to the folder, what I've done, I went to the spreadsheet and I created a list of only the polygons for the polygons for Tyne and Wear. Okay, so I think there was 74, 76 of them. Just take that out quickly. Save that. So I'm just going to select this expression. So I'm just going to select them all, do Control-C. Pop back to QGIS, do a right-hand mouse click, go to Open Attribute Table. Alright. Then go back to Select Features using an expression. And I'm going to paste in the expression I popped in. Okay. So that expression, all it consists of is a whole long list of geo_codes where they're not in, okay, and these are all the ones only for Tyne and Wear, okay. So I'm saying select all the other polygons except the ones that belong to Tyne and Wear or belong to the data set we have, okay. So I'm going to select those features, just quickly do that, give it a moment to do it, okay, close that. Move this just to one side just a second, and as you can see, in England, there are a whole lot of polygons selected, except this small section here, and that represents the ones in Tyne and Wear. So if I pop back to the attribute table, I can click on delete selected features. And that will remove all the ones except the polygons that represent Tyne and Wear. Obviously give it a moment just to catch up with me because there's quite a few polygons to be deleted. Right, welcome back. Now what's happened is it's deleted all the polygons except the ones in Tyne and Wear. So we've gone from having every single polygon for the whole of the UK, for Scotland, England, Northern Ireland and Wales, down to just the ones for Tyne and Wear. Okay, so if I do a right-hand mouse click and I go to Export Features As, I pop up here ESRI Shapefiles, the one I want to export it as. Tell it a file name to export as. So I'll pop it into Demo and I'm going to call it Tyne and Wear. Okay, just so it differentiates from the other one. Click on Save. Going to leave this selected. Going to change the default projection to WGS84. And then I'm going to click on OK. Just like to export that. And if I pop back to Demo, these are the 5 files you need for the shapefile. Okay, and that's just for Tyne and Wear. Okay, so in QGIS we've exported just the polygons for Tyne and Wear. As you can see, it's just exported as shapefiles. This is the 5 files that we created earlier. You can see here. Now the first thing we're going to do is just select these 5 files, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to pop them into a zip file. Just makes it easy to work with, that's all. Just pop that like that. And it's created a file called tyneandwear.zip. Now, one of the things about the Power BI control that we're going to use for this particular demonstration is it cannot use shapefiles. Yes, I know it's a bit frustrating. It can, however, use a format called TopoJSON. So, how do you get TopoJSONs from shapefiles? Well, let me show you. There's a wonderful website called mapshaper.org. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the shapefile we've just created. Okay, and zip it all up because you actually need all 5 files to be able to do this transformation correctly. Go to import and say, do you want to import these? Yes, you do. Fantastic. And there we have the shapefiles we created earlier. Now, just a bit of belts and braces to make sure that the projection is correct, even though we did save it when we did export it as a shapefile earlier. We did ensure we're using the QGIS 84 projection. You can do that another way though, just as a belts and braces, by using the console. So just click on console there and just pop in dash proj space WGS4. And when I press enter, it's going to convert the shapefile that we've imported to make sure it's in the right projection. In this case here, the source and the destination projection are the same for this particular file, so that's awesome. Now we're going to also do something else slightly different as well. We're going to simplify this file. If you have a look at the zip file, you'll notice it's 5 meg in size. That's fairly sizable. And we're actually going to simplify it because if you look at this particular shapefile, every single line consists of dots. These are single dots. And we just want to make it a bit simpler and a bit smaller. So when we're importing the file and displaying it, it displays a little quicker. To do that, really simple. Just click on simplify. And I'm just going to take those 2 there. And I'm going to use this one. Click on apply. Now I've done this before. It might sound quite drastic. I'm going to reduce it down to 2%. Just watch what happens. Not really that much. A couple of line intersections ask it to repair that. But the complexity hasn't really changed significantly unless you really zoom in. So this is quite good when you're using it. Yes, you may lose some features, some slight subtleties, but for the maps and the reports, it's not a big issue, particularly this one. So that's why I reduced down 2%. And the last step I'm going to do is I'm just going to export it as a TopoJSON file. So just click on there, select the right one, click on export, and it's going to export the file. And if I pop and have a look at it, remember that one was approximately just over 5 meg in size. Just show this one, 206 kilobytes in size. So it's a bit of a significant difference. It's the same data, just a different representation, but much, much smaller. Next step, we're going to look at Power BI itself. All right, I promise we're in the home stretch now. We are going to add the TopoJSON file that we created to Power BI. I'm going to show you how to hook up to the data. This is a Power BI desktop file that I've got. I just happen to have a blank page here. There's already some data uploaded from the spreadsheet that we've shown you. As you can see here, we have things like the geocode for drag this across. Geocode is just the LSOA code. Okay, I just call it geocode to make it slightly easier to remind myself what I was working with. So that's all it is there. You'll recognize that from both the attribute table when we're looking at the shapefile and also from the spreadsheet. So that's all I'm going to work with. Just delete that. First thing I'm going to do is just add the shape map visual to the report. Yeah, it's slightly bigger. Now, one thing you have to do, if you click on here to go to format it, one thing you'll notice is you don't see a menu item called shape. So we can't add the TopoJSON file yet. What you need to do, first of all, is drag the location field to here. Okay, you'll get this popping up, don't worry, that just happens by default. If you click back here, you'll notice the shape part of the menu has appeared. So we just click on that to expand it. And we click on Add Map. So we're going to add a custom map at this point. So in my C drive in the demo, I've got the tineandweir.json file, which is the TopoJSON file we had earlier. You can click on Open and open that up. And amazingly enough, we suddenly have the shapefile or the TopoJSON file appearing. We've got a quick look, just quickly at the map keys. So what it's going to allow us to do, so the geocode maps back to this field here, okay, and that's going to allow us to do just add the data to the report. So just pop back on here. If I added the incident type to here like this, And say, for example, I filtered on that, so if I said non-assist, assist other agencies, I can see all the locations where that has taken place. Okay, that's all it is. There's nothing more exciting to it than that. Now, yes, I have done some other bits and bobs before, so using exactly the same technique. This is one where you can filter by certain types. We're looking at possibly certain years, so if I do that, you can see for certain years, and some other bits and bobs, but that's just me playing around with Power BI. There's nothing exciting here. It's exactly the same TopoJSON file underneath, so I click on here. If you go to here, go to shape, there's just a TopoJSON file in there. That's all it is. And that's how to add a TopoJSON file to Power BI.